Hello Biology, grade 12. This small video is about the lab report, especially the one that you're going to be writing, the water properties. In any report in the future, certain rules has to be applied. So if we start, we need a title always. And we used to do a lot of title pages when we used to use paper, but nowadays I need at least the title, who's your teacher, for example, Miss Eunice, because you gotta do that in the university too. The date, what else, the course, which is, these are they're well known, but we do them. At the beginning you do write a purpose, and the purpose has to be very short. Don't go crazy. The purpose of this lab report is to study the properties of water, right? So don't go in details here because this is a very big, large idea. And then in the hypothesis, I want one paragraph. You are summarizing graph. You are summarizing what you're guessing. Hypothesis is an educated guess. So you are guessing the properties of water, and I need it in one paragraph. You can put them summarized. And then an introduction. In the introduction, you're introducing the properties. You can give, a good information here, but don't go more than a page because really it's not about the introduction. It's about the lab. You can go between 1 to 2 paragraphs to a 1 page, but don't go further than that. The material and method. Some teacher says refer to the material and method in the lab report or the one that I gave you, but it really doesn't matter. You can rewrite them. I like my students to write their material methods. Results, usually we put them in tables. It's easier for the reader to understand what you have done. Discussion is the largest and biggest area in the lab report. This is where you're talking about your results and you're discussing why and how and where and what. And that's usually where the information that you looked up in the introduction will go in. So you look at your results and I need why did you get these results and what do you get from those. So usually, for example, in my thesis, this was 300 pages. But I'm not asking you for 300, I'm asking you for a couple of pages, but all your results need to be explained. And the last one is not results, the last one is the conclusion. And in the conclusion, I don't need more than a couple of sentences. You are concluding. You are giving me a conclusion, not the results, because some of you are writing the results here. Here you're concluding. Basically, you're referring to the hypothesis. You're telling me, oh, this is what I got and this is what I conclude from this experiment. So the majority of the lab report will be in this area and some here. I do not want to see any I. In science, you don't exist as I. I want to see the passive language. For example, the water was poured into a flask. So you don't need to say a student or I or you. A water, let's say 500 mils of water was poured into a jar or a flask. So use the passive language in your reporting. I don't want to see the I at all. If I see the I, you're going to be in trouble. And don't forget referencing. So whenever you're, for example, here when you're talking about the introduction, where the material, you're going to be looking up stuff from the internet, I need references. Now let's talk about references. I did put a note in your web about references. I need a reference page at the end of your research, of your lab report. You can write it in 2 ways. You can use the numbers. For example, between brackets, Miss Eunice says that to pour some water into the flask, you put blah, 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 and then because these are from my words, and you end up the sentence with number 1 in brackets. And here in the reference page, you are numbering your references 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And this number 1 refers to that number. Cool? And the next one is you took an information and you put it in your own words. Even if you put it in your own words, you took someone else's information. It's not from your brains, so you have to reference. So after the sentence is done, you can put an APA system, for example, UNIS 2023. One of these two methods you can use and be consistent. Use one of them and be. This one is very famous. Everyone uses it because it's less hassle and work. All right, you have to do referencing in the introduction and in the discussion. Why? Because you are getting me facts from outside, not from your brain. You got this result, and this is why. You look it up, you research it. I hope this helps you to write your lab report.